What are some of the biggest mistakes that people make in networking?
I'll start with the biggest.
This is Charlie Lawson, former owner and leader of Business Networking International. What's the funniest thing that you've seen at B&O?
If you don't get your name out there, then no one's going to, you can't be the best kept secret and no one's going to come and find you.
Expert helping you network and get referrals.
Is it what you know or who you know? It's not what you know, it's not who you know, it's how well you know them.
How to grow your business network even if you hate networking. Do you have to like networking to be good at it?
No, because I don't like networking, I'm good at it.
And also the power of building a network around you that will blow your trumpet.
When you've got a good network around you, they'll blow your trumpet for you. Sounds a bit weird that, but yeah, they'll shout about you.
So Charlie, what are the keys to developing a real, meaningful, long-lasting relationship?
Relationships are a big thing. I mean, let's face it, you want to grow your business, you want to get a job, you want to make some friends, honestly. Let's take it down to that. You know, relationships are about getting to know people. And for me, I've got a real bee in my bonnet about this because I think it's a skill that isn't taught properly. I've got a son in secondary school, and they don't teach this to kids in schools. I go back to when I was at university. I did a business degree. And in my career, so I left university, 25 years ago, God, it's that long. Have I used anything from my business degree in my career so far? Maybe the odd thing here and there. But what I didn't learn how to do was how to get along with people, how to talk to people, how to get to know people well, how to help people out so that they might help me in return. It's a skill that we don't teach, and it's something I'm really passionate about.
What are the keys to getting to know someone?
What are the keys to get to know someone? Get to know what they're into. I think that's the biggest one for me. So when I'm look, I'm a networking specialist, so I teach people how to grow their business through networking. And so often when we're talking about networking, we think, right, business event, got to talk business. Oh, no, we're all dressed up smart, we're at a business event. Look, you've got to talk business, of course you are. But much more important, best question to ask is, you've got a free day to yourself, you've got no responsibilities to anyone, what do you do? What are you into? And you'll find things that come up. Now, hopefully someone will say they're into running or triathlons, because then I'll be away, and because I love running and triathlons. Sometimes you get common ground, sometimes you don't. I was at an event not so long ago, chatting to a lady. I asked this in any conversation about, what are you into? And she goes, crochet. And I'm like, I've got nothing. I have literally nothing on crochet. But because she was passionate about it, we're flicking through her phone, look at all these pictures of these quilts she'd made. You remember people when you see that passion, it creates connection. Now sometimes there'll be no connection at all. Sometimes you'll just start chatting. You'll be chatting about whatever, where you went on holiday. In fact, you've both got a 14-year-old son. The fact that whatever, it's that connection that creates relationship, and it takes time to build. You know, you think you meet someone, do they become your friend instantly? No, of course not. It takes time to build that relationship. There's certain studies been done on surveys on how long it takes to become a good friend with people. So it takes a long time.
So you've got a free day, Charlie.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'd go for a long run.
How long?
My perfect length is probably, I'd say, half marathon sort of length. So a couple of hours I'll be out going. I'm not particularly fast. I just love it. It's my me time. Obviously, it's physical exercise. It's mental exercise. I'll listen to podcasts, books, whatever it might be, and yeah, I just absolutely love it. So yeah, you'll find me running, definitely.
Why does that help you in what you do at work?
It actually sets up my day completely. I love to go running in the morning. That's my time. I'm not so keen on going later on in the day, but yeah, my other half, she'll see the change in mood in me if I've not gone for a run. So let's say I've injured myself and I've actually got a bit of plantar fasciitis in my foot. Pain. You don't want plantar fasciitis, I can tell you that. So I can't go running as much as I usually do. And she'll just, God, we've got to get that plantar fasciitis. She'll see that in me, the fact that I'm got this pent up energy, this slightly, I'm going to say negative energy that I just dispel when I go running. When I find I'm clearer headed in my mind. I'm thinking better during the day. Obviously, it's the endorphins that come from physical exercise and so on. But I just need it, honestly.
Yeah, you mentioned two things earlier on. You said common ground
Yep.
and passion.
Yeah.
Is there a link between the two?
Not necessarily, but if there is common ground, you'll usually have a much more interesting and probably passionate exchange. Let's put it that way. Give an example. This is someone I've known, a guy called Steve, known him for a while in networking. I wouldn't say he's a good mate or anything. He's just someone I've known. And he'd said to me, I've heard him say various times at networking events and so on. I heard him say this company he wanted to get into, a good referral for him. And this company happened to be on the business park where my office was. And every day I'd drive into the park in the morning or drive home in the afternoon, and I'd pass this company's premises. I'd pass them as I went to the cafe at lunchtime to grab a sandwich. And every time I walked past that company, I'd see the sign. I think, Steve wants to talk to them. But you know what? I never did anything about it. And then one day, we sat down and had a coffee, and it's one of those coffees that turns into a bit of a lunch, and then a couple of drinks. You know, you get the pitch. It carries on and on. And we got into, well, I'm going to say it was an argument. An argument about whether Lewis Hamilton is the greatest Formula One driver of all time. Now, you'll think one of three things at this point. You'll think, yes, he is. No, he isn't. Or, I don't really know who he is. And doesn't he just drive around in circles? That may well be what people are thinking. The point was what happened next. Because next time I went to a cafe for my lunch, to grab a sandwich, I didn't just walk past that company premises. I walked in. And I said to the guy on the reception, look, a friend of mine really wants to get in touch with, I think it was the facilities manager you need to speak to. Can we possibly arrange an introduction? And I couldn't actually believe how easy it was to do that. That's a story for another day. Cold calling on behalf of someone else is much easier than cold calling for yourself. But that's separate. The point was what had changed in our relationship, because for weeks, months, I'd walk past that company's premises, and suddenly something had changed. What? It's because I got to know stuff about him. And that stuff, that connection, Formula One in this particular case, was something that, one, we connected over, but we were passionate about, and we created that connection, and it made me want to do something with it.
Look, you are massively into networking. This is one of your books.
It is, yes.
The Unnatural Networker.
Very unnatural.
How anyone can succeed at networking.
Yeah.
What are the keys?
Well, the key with that in particular is the word unnatural, because it may not seem like it, and especially when I'm training a group or speaking in front of a group, whatever it might be, people think, well, there's no way this guy's unnatural. But trust me, I'm a bit of an introvert. I like my own space. Once I've gone and met people, I need to go and sit down in a dark room and just chill out and relax. My other half, she's complete opposite to me. Natural extrovert. She just will talk to anyone, anywhere, any situation. She'll be chatting away, and she's brilliant at it. She thinks I have a word limit in my day, so I'll come home and she'll want to chat about whatever, and I just need to go and be quiet. I genuinely am an introvert, and I help other introverted types. I'm generalising a bit there, obviously. Yeah. I help other people who struggle with networking to do it.
Is that people that fear networking to a degree? I
think there's two people who tend to come to me the most. The clients I see are people who, really do struggle with, maybe because they're on that introverted side of things. And the thought, maybe they've had a bad prior experience. How often do we go to an event or maybe on LinkedIn or other platforms and just get sold to straight away? So there's definitely people who fear that. The other one is, it comes back to your first question, is look, they're quite capable to go into a room and meet people. They'll have some conversations, they'll, connect with a few people, but then it's what happens next. It's how do you turn that pleasant conversation, let's put it like that, into actually something happening. And that requires, as we were saying before, it requires the discipline of spending time getting to know people, following up on it, and keeping that process going. That's the bit they probably struggle with the most.
Earlier on, you mentioned about getting to know someone to start with and getting into that conversation, finding common ground. Is this a business relationship that you should go for first, or a personal relationship? Well,
that's an interesting question, because so often, as I said, you're often in a business environment when you're having these conversations. No one goes networking to go and make some friends. That would just be a weird thing to do. But if you can take the business away from it a little bit, what's going to make people if they're having a bit of fun, having a laugh with people, what connects people more than anything else? Laughter, having fun, enjoying yourself. That's what starts to connect you, especially when you're starting to talk about whether it's a common ground or shared experiences in some way. So actually, it's not a personal thing, because like I say, no one's going networking to make some friends, but done right, probably you'll make some friends doing it.
look, you're involved in BNI. I'm aware of that. I've got some questions on that, but just on this first, what's the funniest thing that you've seen at BNI?
Funniest thing I've seen at BNI. Oh God, that's a lot. Should have prepared for this question. Funniest thing I've seen at BNI. There's just countless stories of things that have happened at BNI. I'll share one story about what I did when I went to BNI. So I'm no longer with BNI on a day-to-day basis. We should just be clear on that. Sold the business last year, but I still have an affiliation, and I love the organisation. And it's often, in the majority of cases, early morning meetings. That's typically what it is. And you know what early morning means? It means you've got to set the alarm clock. And, you know, if the alarm clock doesn't wake you up quite right, then, yeah, that's going to be a problem. So one day I'm booked to go to a particular group. I live probably 45 minutes drive away from this this group. And you know what's coming. The alarm, I don't know what happened. Maybe I didn't set it right, whatever. It didn't go off. And I'm there just going, right. I wake up and it's about, I'm going to say 7:20. Meeting starts at 7. That'd be the latest that you'd get there. And I'm still 45 minutes on drive from there. And I'm speaking, you know, to the group. And that would typically start about 8, maybe just after 8:05, something like that. I've never got dressed so quickly. I've never... Police of the world. I was very responsible as I legged it as fast as I could to get there. And I literally walked in as they were saying, well, our speaker today is due to be... he's here. So the only thing I could do was just talk about the benefit of being late, or not the benefit of being late, the reasons why you shouldn't be late in a relationship building setting, i.e., be credible, do things like that. I just had to make a joke of it, and how
did the meeting go?
It was fine because I was self-deprecating. I made it. I said, "Look, yeah, I couldn't hide it, could I? I was late."
How did you brush your hair in the car?
I literally everything, tie on, whatever I was doing. Just I've never been quite so stressed.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right. So, BNI. I know you said you sold it. Did you own BNI? Did you start BNI?
I didn't start it, but I was involved in it. It was something of a family business. It was my parents that brought BNI to the UK back in the mid-90s or so. At that time, I was off to university, deeply uncool to go and do things with your parents. So actually, I was thinking, right, I need to develop a career in what am I going to do? And I picked IT for some reason. That was not a good move. And as soon as I could reverse out of that one, I did. But at that point, I wasn't looking to go into the family business. I mean, as I say, I was off at university when they started it. So they had a connection to it because my uncle, my dad's brother, lived in Canada, in Toronto. He'd found this thing. He knew my dad was in between things that he was doing in his professional life, and said, you should come and have a look at this. They went and had a look in Toronto. They saw something that was very interesting, but they thought, there's no way this will work in the UK. They went and met the guy that founded BNI, a guy called Ivan Meisner. He lived in LA at the time. They went and saw the same thing there and thought, yeah, this is good, but really, British people aren't, we're not going to do this. Anyway, they took a gamble and went for it, and they started the first group in December '96. So as I say, I was at university at that point. Some years later, fast forward to what was it, 2004, somewhere around there. That's when I was trying to back out of this aforementioned IT career. That was a terrible mistake. And they were twisting my arm to come into the business, and probably looking for their exit plan, honestly. And I decided to come into the business at that point. And I came in as a franchisee in the part of the world. I was in Southeast London at the time, and that was. They didn't give me the franchise; they made me buy the franchise, and rightly so, obviously. So I've never been a member of BNI, but I came in as a business owner.
So since 2004, you were a franchisee. So how did your career progress?
Well, I started off in that part, as I say, Southeast London. Then there was a much bigger region that needed support. So I kind of maintained the interest in that one, but went and practically worked on the other region. It was in Northwest London, where my parents were based. That was the home territory, if you like. And my parents retired in 2009. Myself and my business partner, Tim Cook, not Tim Cook from Apple. He's just called Tim Cook. Also likes running, but he's an Arsenal fan and I'm a Spurs fan, so it was always caused some issues.
Interesting times.
Yeah, very interesting. Another whole topic. We became national directors together. So the two of us bought into the business at that point. So that was in 2009, and as I say, we sold the business in last year, 2022.
So, does anyone stand out for people that you've sort of developed real deep, meaningful, lasting relationships with over that period of time?
Well, Tim would be a great example of someone who, okay, we'd have arguments in the office when Spurs were playing Arsenal, for sure, that would happen. But in terms of how we worked together and created a relationship over time, it was, I'm going to say, as good a working relationship as we could possibly do. I joke about it now and say that Tim did all the work. He did the spreadsheets, the contracts, the legals, the operations of the business, and I was the public face of the business. I had to go and do the promotion, which is funny given what the book we were just talking about. I went and became this Unnatural network, and lots of people said to me when referring to the book, when you do, you're the public face, you need to get speaking opportunities. You want to go and promote the business to the outside world. And they said, we've got to do a book. I was like, really? Do I have to do it? I didn't think I was going to do a book. But then, when so many people say it, so your business coach says it, my parents in my particular case, the founder of the BNI was saying it. Various people kept saying, okay, I'm going to have to write this book. And it was during that process, you'll be aware of the phrase writer's block. I was trying to write this book, a one-on-one guide on networking, and just nothing. I'd stare at the screen, nothing coming out. And I was just chatting with Tim in the office one day, and this is an example of how the relationship could work for us. And we realised that actually didn't really like networking. Actually, I struggled with it, and that's where the Unnatural Networker title was born. And so, yeah, that was Tim's idea, and it kind of came. And as soon as I was writing the book for other unnatural networkers, it was transformed. It flowed. I was sit down at the computer, do a bit of writing, and it would just flow. And I'd say it was easy. It's still a challenge writing a book, but it just came out and was easy. And yeah, that's a good example of how Tim and I could work together, and that relationship really worked for us.
So you said you didn't really like networking.
Oh, definitely don't.
Do you have to like networking to be good at it? No,
because I don't like networking. I'm good at it.
How good?
Well, I built a career on it. I have now started a new business where it's absolutely, networking is my only source of business generation. I don't advertise. I don't, do anything like that. It's all on networking, and I've started another business doing the same thing. So no, you definitely don't. You definitely need to be good at it, but you don't have to like it to be good at it. And that's my message to more introverted types. Like you said, the subtitle of the book is how anyone, emphasis on the anyone, could be good at.
Well, let me read this. The second book, The Unnatural Promoter: How Anyone Can Blow Their Own Trumpet Without Feeling Awkward.
Gotta love the phrase "blow your own trumpet."
It is without feeling awkward.
That's the key. So that book.
How? I want to know the answer.
Okay.
How anyone can blow their own trumpet without feeling.
Well, let me
awkward.
explain where that book came from. Just to first, and then I'll there's a simple answer to that question. That book was born the day the first book, I had the book launch. So the book launch was set up. It was the team in the office had done. I couldn't do it. Inviting people to a party is just literally I just don't like doing it. Team in the office had done a wonderful job. They set it all up. It was an after work do. A few canapes, bubbles. Really, really nicely done. And people were coming, I don't know, there were probably 80, 100 people coming just to come and get a copy of the book, and I was going to say a few words, and they could ask me questions and so on. Where was I at about 5 to 6, 5 minutes before it started, where guests were in the room? I was upstairs in the office pretending to do some work, just not wanting to come and be at my own event. Now, rationally speaking, I knew very well that people wanted to be there. They wanted to get a copy of the book. They wanted to ask me questions. I know that. If I think about it rationally, but still the thought of promoting myself just makes me feel awkward, and that's where that was born. Simple answer: how you can promote, blow your own trumpet without feeling awkward. Build a network around you. When you've got a good network around you, they'll blow your trumpet for you. That sounds a bit weird, but yeah, they'll shout about you. So if anything, they don't run one after the other, but if anything, the Unnatural Promoter is the prequel to the Unnatural Networker. What that Unnatural Promoter says is you need to have people around you. Build your network, And then the Unnatural Networker shows you how you can actually use those people, use that network to gain success.
I absolutely love that. I didn't see it coming neither. You know, here's the key: build a network around you. How do you do that then? How do you start to build a network around you?
Talk to people. Glib answer, I know. How do you do it? Okay, if you think through the people you know, there'll be some people you know really well. There'll be some people who could literally call you at 3 a.m. and okay, you might be a bit grumpy about it, but you take the call because you know that they're not going to call you at 3 a.m. unless it's something really important. They're obviously your very close network. You're then going to have people that you know well, but you don't. Certainly wouldn't be calling at 3 a.m. There wouldn't be an expectation of that. But you'll think of a really good client, someone you've done work with over a good period of time. A good friend who you've got to know over time, or whatever it may be. And then you'll have people that you know less well, and it will sort of go out in phases. I'm a strong believer that people will come and go from your network, and it's down to you how much you want them to come and how much you want them to go, honestly. If I think of people that have come through my life, and I'm thinking friends here, if I think back to when I was at school and then went to university, I don't really hang out with any of the people I met when I was at university, but there's a bunch of us who were all at school together and we're still really tight and really, really close. So it's how much you work at the relationships, honestly. And I think for me, the biggest thing with networking is that it's actually the word networking that freaks people out. Because networking is this title that we put on, and we often think about it, it's going to an event or getting on LinkedIn and doing that kind of thing. And that's what makes people feel awkward. Actually, what we're doing with networking is just talking to people. How do you build a relationship? You talk to them. You spend time with them. You share experiences with them. Common ground, like we were talking before. You laugh about stuff, whatever it might be. You'll work together. You'll demonstrate your credibility with people. That's all networking. The thing is, a lot of people look at networking as this thing they've got to go and do, whereas actually, they've got some mates around for dinner on a Saturday evening. Are they networking? Well, they wouldn't describe it as that, but when they're with their friends, they're doing the same thing. They're talking to them. They're building relationships with them. So I'd almost ask the question, when aren't we networking? Because in reality, we're always networking. Whenever we're talking to anybody, we are networking. We just don't describe it as that.
You'll have heard this before. Networking, not working.
Not working, yeah.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that people make in networking?
I'll start with the biggest. Hard selling. And here's the challenge with it. Let's imagine you've gone to a networking event, I don't know, in your local Chamber of Commerce type event or a B&I meeting or whatever it is. If you go into that room and start selling, you're setting yourself up to fail. Why? Because who went to that event with the intention of buying anything? No one does. And look, even just on the practical nature of it, most people's buying process, well, you probably want to sit down and talk about it. You might have a contract to sign, blah, 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 whatever. There's all sorts of things you're going to do. So you're never going to do that in that situation. So why bother selling? And this thing where, you connect with someone on LinkedIn and immediately you get sort of, it's almost like it's probably set up as an autoresponder, to be quite honest. 20% off widgets or whatever their product is straight away. But it's the biggest turn off for so many people and it just doesn't work. So yeah, definitely not selling. So how can you make it more effective is not going with the intention. It's actually realizing the people that you're networking with probably aren't going to be your next client.
No one went there to buy.
Exactly. But even on the day, okay, they're not going to buy. But even down the road, probably those people aren't going to be your next client. I'm not saying they definitely won't be, because they might. Of course they might be. But it's actually, who do those people know who might be your next best client? See, here in life, is it what you know or who you know? Obviously, everyone knows it's who you know. But that's actually, it's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's how well you know them that counts. And when you know people well, and there's trust and built over time, through that relationship process, then yeah, who do they know and who are they prepared to refer you to? That's the key. So yeah, networking is not about doing business, obviously on the day, as we've just said, but it's also about not necessarily doing business with the people you meet. It's about who do they know who you really want to do business with.
Yeah, look, you've been to your fair share of networking events.
I have, yes.
You don't need to mention any names here. What are some of your worst experiences that you've ever had?
Generally, it always comes back to that hard selling experience. Honestly, it's funny because in some cultures, when you around the world, you see different things happen. So, I'll give an example. I would equate hard selling. Maybe it's definitely a step back from that. And it's changed slightly these days because more people will, don't necessarily have business cards always when you go to events. Often you'll be connecting via a QR code and it takes you straight to the LinkedIn profile and then you can hit connect. But so often you'll have people immediately wanting to connect on via that or give you their in an old world it would be give you a business card. And I said in other cultures, go to India and it's just absolutely the done thing to just basically take the people's business cards straight there and then. It's just the cultural way they do it. Go to Japan and it's a very different process of how they exchange business cards. It's actually, there's a real ceremony to it. So they'll literally, offer the card up like this and you'd offer me, and you've got a whole process to go through. But yeah, with that point around, immediately wanting to connect with people on LinkedIn, hold on a little bit, because what are you doing when you connect with someone on LinkedIn? You're actually giving away a little bit of your credibility when you do so. By saying so the way LinkedIn works, first level connection, second level, third level. Leave third level out of the way because they're friends of friends, if you like. But no, friends of friends of friends. I've said that wrong. First level, people you're connected with. Second level are people that they know. If you immediately connect with someone who you've just met for the first time right there and then in quite a salesy approach, as often happens, you're giving away a little bit of your credibility in doing that.
Why? Because
other people can see your network and look through your first level connections and say, oh, you're connected to them. You must know them. Now, that's not always the case. And if you look through your LinkedIn connections, probably there's going to be one or two people who are first level connections who you honestly can't remember exactly where you met them. You met them 10 years ago and it wasn't like a close relationship you had with them. But yeah, you are effectively giving away a little bit of your credibility by connecting first level.
So is speed a bad thing there? You shouldn't be jumping in too fast. Is that what you're saying?
Potentially. Every situation is different. So you can't say, no, that's not the right thing to do on some cases. Because sometimes you might be talking to someone who, perfect person for me to network with. Good target market, link up, we both share the same sort of clients. Well, no, I want to connect with them and I want to do that. But if the first thing I do is say, right, let's connect, that's not the approach. Much better to ask them some questions. What are you into? How do you help your clients? Here's a good question is, what do your clients typically say when they when they first contact you? What's their issues? What's their problems? What's going on for them? And then you'll find out if there's those connections and those possibilities to work together. And then at that point, then we make the connection. It's when you go in first and without any other thought.
So if I've just started a business, should I start networking straight away? Should that be one of my strategies?
Yes, definitely. It was a funny story. I've started a business this year. And, it's a challenge to start. I think everyone who's started a business knows that it's a challenge to start a business. And, you've got to get your first clients. The phone's got to ring somehow. You've got to get there. And I was chatting to him, mate. He's an old schoolmate. And honestly, he's quite a funny one. His relationship with networking has, let's say, been interesting. He's sometimes very passionate about it, but sometimes I can't be bothered with it. And he just said to me, he was asking, how's the new business going? Oh, yeah, it was tough. Takes time to get clients. He said, do you think you should go and do a bit of networking? I was like, well, yeah, I know I'm obviously doing that. So yeah, no, absolutely. You've got to get your name out there. Much as it pains me to do it, I have to promote myself. Otherwise people, you can be the best kept secret.
It's all right. You know how to blow your own trumpet.
Well, I still feel awkward doing it though.
Well, you build a network around you that'll do it for you.
Exactly. The point is though, if you don't get your name out there, then you can't be the best kept secret and no one's going to come find you if you don't tell anyone about it. So yeah, you've got to promote yourself in a way. But yes, as I say in the book, the best way to do that is have people go out and do it for you.
Yeah, have people go out and do it for you, and ultimately you've got to talk to people as well.
Indeed.
So, what the best bits of advice you can give for going out there and positively talking to people?
Ask good questions. Be interested in the answers, and listen. Not listen to respond, but listen to understand.
Sounds easier. You know, it's a lot of people say that. A lot of people say and profess that. Yet it's not common practice.
No, it isn't. It definitely isn't. I'll turn back to the first one of those and maybe see if we can give an example. So I said ask good questions. So an obvious question that a lot of people were asked, maybe you ask initially, what do you do? Except you ask that as a basic question. But then they'll say something like, I don't know, where are you based, for example? And what can where are you based lead to? Okay, it might lead to some geographic connection, maybe, but what's the chances? It's not likely to lead to a lot. Much better question, once you've asked, what do you do, is, how did you get into that? Because when you ask someone, how did you get into that? Or what do you love about your industry? Just a question like that. It takes them out of the day-to-day and gets them thinking, well, go back in time. Why did I get into that? Why, what was it about? Probably they were excited about setting up a business. What do they love about it? Well, what are they going to tell you? They're going to tell you what they love, what they're passionate about in that business. It's a far more interesting question. And then obviously when it comes to the listening point, I can't then just be thinking, right, what's my next question? What's my next question? I've got to listen to what they're saying, understand it, and then respond. Don't listen and just jump in with wherever I want to go next or try and get it onto me. Best, you know what most people like to talk about? What's their favourite subject? Themselves. Get them talking about themselves. And sometimes you'll have a conversation with someone at a networking event, and honestly, you hardly say anything. That's a good conversation in a networking setting.
Yeah, you gave me an interesting question earlier on. You said, if you got a free day, what do you do? Give us another interesting question to get someone talking about themselves.
Another interesting question. The one I just said there, what do you love about what you do? I think that's a good one. Tell us about a client that you've helped recently. And so this is a good one because often it requires a certain answer. Sometimes people will tell you everything about what they did for that client. And actually, that's not very interesting. It's what the client's feeling that's interesting. So, like I said, what's the client thinking when the moment they contact you, when they picked up the phone and said, "I need your help with X, whatever X is." What was going on for them? Were they worried? Were they anxious? Were they losing money? Were they unproductive? Whatever. There's going to be some issue. You'll then, in the conversation, the business owner, you basically swoop in and save the day. You'll solve their challenge, and then think, how do they feel after? Now you've done your bit. What would they say about you? Oh, they've saved me all this money. They've saved me all this time. They've saved my life even. Sometimes, it becomes that extreme. So, yeah, tell us about a client experience from the client's point of view.
I heard this from a global sales guru, all right, and talking a little bit about networking. And he used this question. Don't ask people where they're from. Ask people where they grew up. Let's do that on you. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in northwest London. Suburbs of London. Very unexciting. I wish I lived by the sea. I want to live by the sea. One day I will live by the sea.
What was the biggest memory of growing up in northwest London?
Biggest memory of growing up in northwest London? Probably when I learnt to ride my bike.
How old were you?
Oh, I would have been, I don't know, 3, 4-ish, I guess. I'm not great with early memories, but I do remember that feeling of my parents lived in a cul-de-sac, and it kind of had a little bit down there, a little bit there, a little bit there. You basically go on the pavement all the way around, and it felt like miles when you're 3 or 4. But it probably was a few hundred yards. But just that freedom of doing that. And I remember I had a recurring dream when I was young. I don't know, there'll be people who know exactly what this means. I had a recurring dream that I'd be riding my bike, and I'd take off, and E.T. style, I'd be flying around above the.
Me and you, same age, same era.
Yeah, love that.
On a cul-de-sac. Yeah. Common ground. It's actually quite a good question, that.
Yeah.
So yeah, riding the bike on the pavements, age between 3 and 5.
Whatever age I am now. Yeah.
What kind of bike was it?
Oh God, I probably. What did I learn? I don't know. I remember the first proper bike I had was a BMX, and I love
BMX.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a Rally Lizard?
I didn't have a Rally Lizard. Yeah.
Do you remember a Rally
I do remember one. Yeah. I'm most envious that I'd never had one. I'm now more into road because I do my triathlons. I have my road bike, so that's what I spend my time on now.
Yeah. So you see, when a man gets older, the toys just get bigger and more expensive.
Yeah.
So the bikes now are a lot more expensive.
They are a lot more expensive. That said, I do not understand, and there's probably people watching this who'll be shouting and cursing at me. Why would you spend silly money, 10 grand on a bike, let's say, because you can quite easily buy a very nice car for that? I have a nice bike, but it's not a 10 grand bike. And then you get the Lycra. Was it the mammal middle-aged man in Lycra?
You could have come wearing lycra today if you'd have wanted.
Probably would not have been a good look, but but they spend 10 grand. But let's be honest, there's a little bit of a beer gut there, and it's like, actually, is it worth spending 10 grand? Yeah.
What's your favourite beer?
I'm actually not a beer drinker.
But there's a beer gut. What's that
I'm
from?
saying other people there's a beer gut.
Okay.
I try and keep myself. I'm not a beer drinker. Don't like beer. I'm a bit weird.
Do you don't drink any alcohol?
I know I do enjoy a drink. I'm not a big drinker. My preferred table probably a gin and tonic. Love a gin and tonic.
Yeah. It's popular, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's very chic.
Yeah, chic. I like to think I'm cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So let's talk about giving now. The biggest gift in life is to give.
Yes.
And that's something that B and I believe in.
Definitely.
Why?
Because it works. Look, B and I call it giver's gain. In life, we probably call it what goes around comes around. In some words, if you're feeling really fancy, you use the word reciprocity. And I've managed to say that, and that's just that doesn't always happen first time. Reciprocity. Yeah,
it's a universal law.
It is, indeed. I think what goes around comes around is the easiest way of saying it. It's a bit like, let's say, you've been invited around a friend's house with your other half. Yesterday, it happened, in fact. Hadn't seen local friends, hadn't seen them in a while. We were hanging out with them, and they said, "Come back to ours. We'll do some food." What are we thinking? Well, me and my other half thinking as we drove away. Right, we better get them around for dinner soon.
Yeah,
it's just a natural thing. It's the Christmas. I mean, maybe we don't do Christmas cards quite so much. You said get receipt. Oh God, I better send them a Christmas card. I don't know if that still applies quite so much, but it's that feeling of just wanting to someone's help you, for sometimes you want to help them back, and when it comes to referrals, look, the best way, you asked earlier, best way to build a relationship, I talked about the connection. Here's number 2 on that list. Give them a referral. Give them a referral, and what are they going to do? Okay, there are going to be some really cold-hearted people who just take. But, you're not going to carry on doing that if they keep taking, clearly. Most people are going to say, right, keep giving to me, Charlie. How can I help you? And then the opportunity is there for you to say what you can do to help them.
Beautiful.
Sorry, they could do to help you.
The law of reciprocity, yeah? So there's a book, Go Givers Sell More.
Yep.
Why do Go Givers sell more?
Because when they give, people want to help them. And, okay, selling is is the end result. Let's be clear about a referral. A referral isn't a sale. A referral is an opportunity to present your business or service to someone who's in the market for your product or service. Doesn't mean they are going to sell. You've still got to go and sell yourself. And get them to sign on the dotted line, but referrals tend to be easier to convert because they come from a place of trust, and people, as a client, assuming they sign up, they tend to stay longer because again they've come from a place of trust. So yeah, it's because if you're giving, then you'll get people returning to you, and you will sell more as a result.
If I'm to set a standard in my business of networking excellence, for everybody in my business that's involved in networking, these are the standards, making it 4 standards, maybe more or less. What should be on that list?
I think it's a really good point. Tracking what you do in a referral context is and networking context are really good to do. First one I track is how many referrals are you giving? As we've just been saying, if you're giving referrals, the chances are you're going to be receiving them down the line. What other things would I track? I'd probably track the number of coffees you have. Coffee is such an important thing, and I'm not talking about the caffeine hit in the morning. I'm talking about the connection that's created over coffee. You meet someone, you have some nice conversations and networking event. Well, if nothing happens afterwards, then complete waste of time. So yeah, sit down with them of coffee. Obviously, in the modern world, I think the pandemic taught us this. Zoom and Teams and so forth can do this very easily for us, and you can have a virtual coffee with anyone, honestly, anywhere in the world. So it's dead easy to do. But yeah, I'd definitely be tracking the referrals and giving, and the number of one-to-ones I'm having. Other things I'd possibly track. How many people, how many events are you going to? How much time are you spending on networking? They're the sorts of things I track. But I definitely have giving referrals and the number of one-to-ones at the top of that list.
Okay, so let's just keep on this of setting the standard. I won't push you on this. So a lot of KPIs to start with. Track this as a business. Any rules for the people that are actually going out networking? Yes, we're going to track all of that. Are there any rules that we want to, or training things that we're going to do so that people perform better?
Yeah, I think the biggest one I'd say there is, are you being strategic with your networking. Are you networking in the right places? Now, as we said before, you're not. You shouldn't bank on doing business with the people you meet networking. We know it's not going to be on the day as well, but if you do business with the people you meet networking, well, that's just good luck. It's the people that your network know. So can you be strategic about it? Who is a typical good client for you? And where do they, quotes, hang out? I don't mean which pubs they go to, which supermarket do they shop in. I mean, who will know, who will have access to the people you want to speak to? So you want to speak to high net worth individuals. Let's use them as an example. Who knows high net worth individuals? Well, I'm going to say probably financial advisors would be a good place to start. Get to know financial advisors, build relationships with them. Now, this is a long-term process, let me be clear, but over time, if you help that financial advisor out and keep passing them referrals, what are they going to do? Oh, Charlie, how can I help you? Oh, I really need to get into high net worth individuals. And then you've got the opportunity. Beautiful. So,
join a members club.
Exactly. There's lots of ways you could do it. I'm just giving that as an example.
Well, let's go on there, because BNI is the one that we've talked about. That is a networking event. Yeah, it's one event. What are all the different networking possible events that people can go to?
So there's a few different ones I'd highlight. So BNI is what we call strong contact networking. It's where there is some sort of restriction around professions. So BNI is only one person per profession in the room, and that's great because it gives you the monopoly within your sector. So that's one type. You've got soft contact networking. So that would be a more general networking mixer. So anyone's going to be there. You might see a whole bunch of your competitors there. To be quite honest, doesn't mean it's not worthwhile doing. By the way, good place to go network. Next one I go is industry specific. So whatever industry you're in, I'll give you an example. For my business, professional services is where I need to be. Legal in particular. So I'm spending a lot of time going to legal networking events because they're the people I want to meet. I'm being strategic about it. What else you got? You got LinkedIn. I'd say that's a big one. So the online space. Now there's lots of different platforms online, obviously. I'm going to say LinkedIn is probably the one that most people watching or listening to this will be most useful to them. I'm not saying that the others aren't, but I use LinkedIn as a good example. Great place, because it tends to be business-focused discussions with business people who can maybe not always make the decision, but maybe they know the person who can make the decision. So LinkedIn's definitely a place I'd add to the list. A couple of others, you might look at volunteer or community groups. I think they're really worth thinking about. I'll give you a couple of examples in my life. I think volunteering is such an important part of my life. I really value it. I volunteer at a local cafe once a week. I love it. It's a community cafe. I'm learning to make coffee. I just suggest don't come in don't have a coffee the day I'm making it, because I'm not that good at it yet. But I just love it because it's part of a community. I volunteer at my local running club. I volunteer at I'm on a governor at my son's school. So all of those groups are people. Look, I'm not about to go and do business with them, but all of them are getting to know me. Yeah. All of them, I help them with something going on in their lives. It may not be quite so directly business related, obviously, because it's more life, but it's all people in my network. So they're definitely good. And the other one I'd say is social networks. So a lot of people think, right, network, you've got to go to that event. It's all a networking event. Got to go to that. But actually, there's really great ways to network. Where if you don't like networking, you're a bit of an unnatural networker. Go to something that interests you. I don't know.
Conferences.
That's go and learn something, thing, and every conference there'll be some networking breaks, and you'll have a coffee and you'll chat to people. But even further to that, go and do something you're really interested in. You're interested in football, go and play five-side football. You'll build a network within those people as well.
That's social networks.
Exactly. So that very much interest group, and clearly not business related. And in terms of getting business, always going to be a more long-term thing for sure. But yeah, they're the six I'd probably cover.
It's amazing how many opportunities you've got in your life to go and network.
But and that comes back to the point: when aren't we networking? Actually, networking is just talking to people. It's nothing more than that. Talking to people, building relationships, and you do that in all walks of life. It doesn't have to be in a business context.
So the people that say not working, are they egomaniacs?
Sorry, are they
egomaniacs?
If they're not working,
no, networking not working.
I see, right.
Because I hear that it's a power statement that people use.
Well, people say that because they think if you're not getting out there and blowing your own trumpet, then you're soon going to be not working. That's how I'd often hear that phrase used. And there comes a point you can't only network. You can't. You've got to run a business. You've got to service your clients. You've got to, do everything you need to do to run your business and make it operate. So you can't only network. So that may be another way people might look at that. If you're only networking, then yeah, you'll also not be working. So,
all right, I got some quick questions for you here. What are the 3 best books to read around networking?
Well, there's a very good one just in front of. If there was one of those you pick, I'd pick up the Unnatural Networker because that's the original one. But
how anyone could succeed at networking.
But maybe you want different takes or other people's takes.
You can have that in the top 3. So let's go with 2 of us.
What's funny about the irony there is I'm actually self-promoted. So there you go. I'm usually not very good at that.
Well, that's the second book, isn't it? How anyone can blow their own trumpet without feeling awkward.
I was going to say I'll try and pick some other books, other people to look at. Look, I'm not involved day to day with BNI anymore, but I would definitely check out Ivan Meisner's content. He's written. I lose count of how many books he's written. To be quite honest, it's probably.
He founded BNI.
He founded BNI.
When was that?
It was 1985. So
85.
It's 39, very nearly 30. It was 8th of January 1985. So very nearly 39, about 39 years. Oh yeah.
What's the biggest thing you've learned?
He did the forward for the book. So,
what's the biggest thing you've learned from him?
He taught me a great one in terms of there's lots of stuff. Let's be honest. He gave me the opportunity to have an amazing business that we sold and we did very nicely out of. Thank you very much. So that's what I would owe him more. But in terms of a networking tip that you could probably take, he taught me how to get out of a conversation. That slightly awkward thing that you have to do sometimes at an event. And if you say, well, I'm just going to go and get a drink, it's obvious you're just trying to just off to the bathroom. It's obvious you're just trying to get out of the conversation. And he did it really nicely. He did it on me. First time I met him, big event, lots of people there wanted to meet him, obviously. And he offered out his hand, said, Charlie, it was lovely to meet you. Shook my hand. Nice smile, very, very positive, but just said, Charlie, it was lovely to meet you. Note the tense. And then he turned off and talked to someone else. And I thought, I didn't feel like I'd been shortchanged. I didn't feel like, isn't he rude? And why, he said it was lovely to meet you. He said it with a big smile. He gave me a nice warm handshake. People get themselves all worked up about this. That's the easiest way to do it. Just say, thank you very much. Lovely to meet you. And go and talk to someone else. Everyone knows at an event that if that's what people are there to do.
It's beautiful.
Don't take it personally.
Beautiful tip. Unnatural Networker. Anything Ivan Meisner. And third book.
Oh, another book on networking in particular.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have thought about more networking books. Can I give you a general book recommendation? I think that really applies in networking. You'll have heard him. He's way more, plenty more famous than anyone that I know. Simon Sinek, Start With Why. Yeah. I love that book. Obviously, it's not about networking per se, but if you are clear on your why and why you do stuff, it's going to make it a lot easier for your network to refer you. So,
is that your favourite book?
It would definitely be in my top 2 or 3 business books.
What's number 1?
Oh, I probably haven't got an order. I love Michael Gerber, E-Myth. I think that's fantastic. I'm not going to think of another one. I've just read a really good book recently, actually, which I'd highly recommend. And I'm not going to remember the author's names, but it's called Play Bigger. I can look it up quickly. No. Really good. Just finished it.
All right, they're books. What's your favourite movie?
It revolves. I have a top 2 or 3 that I love. Shawshank Redemption is always up there.
Yep.
The Italian Job, the original, and I'm a Back to the Future fan. I love Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. 1, 2, or 3?
Oh, it has to be number 1 in terms of the classic, because it's just the beauty in which they put that story together. And I think the third one went a little too far. Let's be honest. But I do love Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. It's got to be on it. It's got to be on over Christmas.
Oh, I'm sure it will be.
Favourite holiday destination?
Favourite holiday destination. I love snowboarding, so I love the Alps, but I also do love when I go on holiday. I like I can't just sit around and do nothing. I'm not one of those. I'll always want to go and see stuff. Best places I've been. Best place I ever went to, probably Cuba. I loved Cuba. I wouldn't necessarily go there.
Did you have a cigar?
Probably did. I was with my. Actually, it's a funny story with my my other half, Hannah, and my son. He was 1 at the time, and we didn't know. We just wanted to go to Cuba, and it was before Castro died. Wanted to see what Cuba was like. And I remember we landed. It was probably. I remember as we came in, you could sort of see the sun setting. So it was maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock in the late afternoon. But by the time we got the bags and come out, it was pitch black. Absolutely nothing around. We knew where we were going in terms of we had a place on the map. But when we got a hire car. It wasn't one of the big old American cars. It was some horrible thing. But we got this hire car. 1-year-old son in the back, bear in mind, so taking a car seat. And we just started driving. And what we found out was there were no street lamps, no street signs, no road names, anything. Literally nothing. We navigated using the compass on our, the compass on your phone, because we knew when we hit the coast, we had to turn right, and that's where, because we were going east. That was all we had. Next morning, sort of found off later, it was fine. Looked in the guidebook, said, whatever you do, don't hire it. If you're going to hire a car, don't drive at night. And that was literally the first thing we'd done. Pitch up with our 1-year-old son, hired a car, and just go on with it. So I like exploring. That's my thing.
Well, once you can do that, you can do anything in Cuba.
I guess you can, yeah.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Superpower. I think I said earlier, flying. I think that for me, riding my bike and flying. I'd love to be able to do that.
Superman, your favourite hero, yeah?
Oh, I guess so, yeah. Why not?
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird, definitely.
How early?
I'm usually up 5:36, usually to go for a run or do some sort of exercise. Yeah, definitely early.
If you could have one day in anyone else's life, past or present, who would you choose?
I'm going to remember a day that I lost my dad in 2015, and something he did. It was before I came into BNI, but it was a BNI thing that him and mum were doing. It was a competition where the prize winners got to go on a cruise line, the QM2 from Southampton to New York. So it was go to New York. And I remember this came up when he died, and we were talking about memories of him. And I got a picture of him the day the boat sailed into New York. It's the first time I'd been to New York, and I saw like once how everyone saw it the first time. You don't just land at the airport and get a cab. Everyone came in by boat, and so you saw the New York skyline by that. And this picture of him, it just shows this glint in his eye that he just obviously it was a thing that he kind of arranged and did, and it was that was the day that I mainly because I miss my dad obviously, but if I could relive any day through him, it was how he showed us the New York skyline in that way. It was an amazing day.
Amazing story. Who've been the 3 biggest trusted advisors in your life?
I'd say my dad would definitely be number 1.
What did you get from your dad?
Biggest thing he taught me was he always said, so he was late 60s when he passed, but I never remember him not saying this. He always said, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up yet. He was always thinking. So the entrepreneurial spirit and adventure, I think, would be the biggest one from him.
And other trusted advisors?
Who else? I'd probably put me on the spot. So I'm going to say Tim, my old business partner. I think just the way we connected and worked together. I mean, he gave me that Unnatural networker idea. That's worked out pretty well for me. So I've built a business on it now. So I'd go with him. And another one, it was an old business coach I had, and I still catch up with him from time to time. And it was just the way he taught me, or I remember talking about him about it first, to spend 20% of my working life on strategy, working on the business, and 80% obviously you've got to run the business clearly, but yeah, spending a fifth of my time on the business, on strategy. I think that's something I've lived my life by ever since. It's
really nice that it's black and white, that as well. It's direct.
It's easy to do, and you can put it in the diary and plan it that way. Yeah.
What's the first thing that people should do once they've listened to this podcast?
Well, other than go and buy the book, no. What's the first thing you should do? Look through your network and see who you're now going to have a coffee with. Remember I said the power of coffee? I think it's something that people don't do enough. I regularly look through my LinkedIn connections, and I'm talking first level connections here, and inevitably there's names you think, where did I make them? I can't remember exactly where they came from. And I'll send message to people regularly, say, hey, just checking in with my contacts. Love to do it from time to time. Anything I can do to help you? Fancy a catch up over a coffee, Zoom or virtual or in real life. And you learn a lot from what the response is, or whether there's a response. If there's no response, should they be someone who's forever in my network? Maybe not. And you know what comes out of those conversations? You have great conversation, and you just get people love the fact that you've reached out to them. So yeah, in a networking context, go and deepen the relationship with someone, and just go and do it.
You know what? I've got plenty of stars on my piece of paper here in front of me. Loved so many parts of this. Second favourite bit was the volunteer.
Yep.
Just gives you new circles, and it was really powerful.
I think volunteering is what makes communities go round, honestly.
And everybody knows you.
Yeah.
And that's how everybody can get to know you. But my favourite bit was how anyone can blow their own trumpet without feeling awkward. Here's how you do it. Build a network around you. Let them do it for you.
Exactly.
And then just, get used to talking to people after that. What's been your favourite part?
I just love connecting with people. The fact that you've let me talk about triathlons and running in particular, because I love it when I just love conversation. And while I am an unnatural networker, trust me, I am. The thought of going into that room of people, no, quite frankly, I'd rather not do it. I'd rather hang out with my mates. It's much easier. But I know that when I get there, I can have a conversation. I know I can do that. So I really enjoy the feeling of connection that you get when you have a conversation. So I'd say that.
Charlie Lawson, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
See you next time.
Hey there, James here with an exciting announcement. The BizX Awards is coming to the ACC Liverpool from the 18th to the 19th of April with an incredible lineup of speakers. You're going to meet the likes of Stephen Mulhern, Donald Miller, Deborah Meaden, and many, many more. Book your spot right now at the bizx.co.uk. And if you've enjoyed listening to the Business Excellence podcast, make sure to comment your top learnings and favourite moments, as well as like and subscribe. See you next time.